we've got really big celebrity, really big name here.
Where?
Where? Yeah. Whether you've seen him for his stand-up comedy, maybe his many guest appearances on so many shows, or his recurring role on The Big Bang Theory, and so much more. Please give a big Cape welcome to Brian Posehn.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for being here today. We're happy to have you here and talk to some great folks and meet and greet so many people on the floor.
Yeah, the floor's been amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here. I know it's only day one, so we got a second day
cool.
tomorrow, which is great. I'm going to just start off real quick. We'll get started, and then we'll take questions from everybody. We're only about a half hour, so we do want to get as many of your questions for Brian as we can. So, Brian, I just wanted to start kind of from the beginning, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you started in stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 1900s.
Way back when.
Yeah,
So what got you into stand-up comedy all those years ago?
Well, so I was a fan first, and as a kid, it was not something that I thought I could ever do, but I just loved Steve Martin. I loved Robin Williams, and those were the first two, and then, I got really into it. And then in the 80s, I was working at a McDonald's, as you do, and working the fries. And a buddy of mine's like, dude, you're hilarious. You should do stand-up comedy. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And that's literally how it started. I had a couple of beers my first time on stage. Oh, not on stage, but in the parking lot. Did a little pre-gaming, and then went up and had my liquid courage and told a bunch of fart jokes for 5 minutes. And I loved it. And I was like, I need to do this for my life.
Right on. And was that in L.A.? Whereabouts did you get started?
No, I started in Sacramento, California. Okay. I was going to college there and working at a McDonald's while I was going to college. So, yeah.
What was your college major? What were you trying to be?
Journalist. Journalism and communications.
Nice.
And I was just enrolled at Sac State when I decided I told my mom, like, I'm going to give it a year and see if I start making any progress at this, and
awesome.
Started booking gigs right away, and was a long-haired kid and full of attitude, and here we are.
There you are. Yada, yada, yada. Here we are in Cornwall, Ontario.
Yeah, man, I did it.
And before we get to some questions, I hope you guys have some. I wanted to ask this. So you're in stand-up comedy, you're doing shows, I believe, in L.A., and then you just started getting, your agent said, hey, we got a guest star. You'd be perfect for this.
It basically happened like that. So I moved to LA to write because in the early 90s in San Francisco, where I was living with a couple other comics, we were writing sketches and kind of preparing to do other things, because at that time people were like, you can't make a living just doing comedy. There was no YouTube back then, and there was no way to get like your name out if you were a young comic. So I went the writing way, and I got hired for MTV, moved to LA to write, and then did a set at the Improv in LA, and a casting woman was in the audience, and she goes, hey, can you come in for this audition tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I'm not doing anything else. So I went in. It was a show called Empty Nest. It was the first thing I did in 1993 or 94. Wow. And that was my first sitcom job. And then Adam Sandler was shooting The Wedding Singer, and that was I did a cameo in that, and that was the first movie thing I did right around the same time. Wow.
And it just started to roll from there.
And then, it was people that were writing other stuff saw me at my Mr. Show work. Once Mr. Show came out, that really helped me get into every sitcom, because like Everybody Loves Raymond, News Radio, Friends,
Seinfeld,
Just Shoot Me, Seinfeld. Those all kind of happened because writers there go, oh, this guy's funny on Mr. Show. He can do this.
Right
he can come in and say this line and be stupid. I'm really good at playing stupid. Or weird or awkward. Yeah, I got those notes.
And all because a buddy of yours working at McDonald's said, hey, you're pretty funny.
Pretty much.
Just like that.
Yeah, that guy still thinks I owe him money. He's wrong.
It's not going to happen. All right, so we're going to open up to the floor. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, right here. Go ahead.
What's it like working with Jim Parsons on The Big Bang Theory? Because I know he was quite the character in the show. Was he actually like avidly smart like he was in the show, or I know Amy is an actual neuroscientist.
Yeah. In different ways. They're not nerdy in person. No, she's super cool, and we became good
did
friends.
a podcast not that long
ago, and we played D&D together for a while. We had a D&D group.
Where could you find it?
Me and Mayim Bialik. I'm on her podcast. It's called.
Oh gosh.
No, it's not getting better, but yeah.
You can look. It's not hard to find.
Yeah. But to answer your question with Jim, when I first started on the show, I play it super professional when I guest star on a show. I don't want to be in the way, so I just stay out of everybody's way. And so at first I was kind of standoffish just because I'm quiet and I don't want to disrupt anything, and that show is their own thing. But the more I did it, the friendlier everybody became, and then I became part of the family by the end of it. But
I mean, you played as a geologist, so it was pretty funny just to see the scenes of you guys in the university and like.
yeah, they were fun to play.
It's just so fun to see all the scenes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The show's been a pretty big staple in my life. So
Oh, nice.
Good.
I watch it too much, so every time I see him, just like, there he is again.
Right on. I love it.
Go ahead.
You know that depressed robot, suicidal robot in the meaning of life? Or it's that life, the universe, or something? Someone help me out here.
Oh,
Yes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Give
Yes.
that robot a run for its money on the trail.
I love it.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
love to have played that robot.
He's a
Yeah.
robot, you're a person, but he's the same.
Yes,
Um,
I see it. Awesome.
I just a follow up with Jim and the cast for Big Bang. Was there a lot of rehearsal? How did rehearsals go? And what was the atmosphere there?
Well, near the end, it wound up being just a 4-day show. But most shows, most sitcoms, it's a 5-day week. So you come on the first day and you read the script, and usually there's not a ton of notes. But if there are, you walk away. But usually, what you do is then you do a dry rehearsal after the notes before you do any blocking. But you're on the set, and then the next 2 days are blocking for the camera. And then sometimes you do pre-shoots, but then we do the live audience on the final day. And the live audience day was always, for me, the most fun, because I've been a sitcom fan since I was a little kid. So, like, to be on a sitcom set where you have the crowd going nuts, and they go nuts for that show. Like, when we were on, those guys are like rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, Kaylee would come out and people would, go
Cheer.
insane. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was super fun.
Right on. Next question. We'll come back to you, okay? Go
Yeah,
ahead
man.
at the back there.
Did you go into the role of Bert expecting it to be a prolonged role, or was it meant to be a one-off?
No, so the first time I appeared, he wasn't even called Bert. I was just a weirdo in the cafeteria, and Raj is on a date with this buddy of mine, Kate Machucci, and she was playing his girlfriend for a couple episodes, and then I have an awkward, interaction with them, and writers knew that I could play awkward. And then it went over really well, and Chuck Lorre even said the first time, he goes, "Hey, we'll probably have you back. But, I've been doing this for a long time." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard that."
yeah.
But he, kept asking me back. And then eventually I think the second time I had the name Bert. And then they figured out I was a geologist and and then made the relationship
backstory, yeah.
between Sheldon and I, we're competitive.
Revivals, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you credited as cafeteria weirdo in the first episode?
I don't even know what it says. Probably cafeteria guy or something, but I definitely have credits that if you look, like lower on my IMDb page, it's like clerk and weirdo, and I think I played a creep maybe. I don't know.
And I got lots more Big Bang. I want to because we got the new spin-off. We want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I know there's some
absolutely.
stuff. But you've got a couple of comics. Can you tell us about your comic books?
So during COVID, I wasn't writing I wasn't acting. I wasn't doing stand-up either, and I drove my wife insane. And she's like, "You should do something. You should write." So I wrote Deadpool for a while for Marvel. And so I was like, I'm going to do something on my own. So I went to Image with these two ideas. And this is Grommets, where issue 7's coming out soon. But this is based on me. This character is me as a metalhead teenager in the Metallica t-shirt. getting harassed by a jock, which happened a bunch in real life. But it's inspired by real stories. I was a skate kid in the 80s, so I thought, people love like Stranger Things and the nostalgia of the 80s, so I was like, I have real stories of me skateboarding. So Rick Remender is a buddy of mine, and he had similar stories as a punk kid in Phoenix, so we just combined it. We made it Sacramento, and it's a punk kid and a metal kid meet, and they love skateboarding, and then they just get into trouble because we were latchkey kids in the 80s. Like, I would leave the house at 10 in the morning and not come home till like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. My mom would never call me looking for me.
It didn't happen back in the 80s
Like,
at all, no.
You just kind of ran around on your bike and did whatever you wanted, or skateboard.
Yeah.
And then Rifters is, I was watching a lot of Dick Wolf productions, a lot of
Law and
police
Order.
procedurals, and I was like, what if you did a time cop, like, TV show, where each week they have a time crime, and it's like influencers going back and, drawing a wiener on Abraham Lincoln's face. And so who stops that?
Yeah.
The Rifter cops do.
All right on. And is it a graphic novel?
Yeah, it's 6 issues,
Right on.
and I've got them at my table.
Excellent. All right, another question? Right, yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering if you ever get questioned about footprints on the moon with Raj and Howard from the Junkies at all? Like,
A few people, yeah, because people ask if I really played guitar on that, and I did. That's my guitar. I'm playing a Gibson SG, if there's any guitar nerds in here. But I own a bunch of Gibsons, and I have some Jacksons, and I love like 80s guitars.
it's just a fun episode.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't think it would actually be such a big thing, but every time I see that episode, I'm just like, I wonder truly if actually people stop you and just say, hey, I remember you from this episode.
Yeah, and those guys all are musicians too. And Chuck Lorre, the creator, found out that I played guitar, and he was like, "Will you play in an episode?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I'm terrible, but
But it doesn't
my
matter.
wife hates it. I have a Marshall that just is way too loud for me.
Guitars are very expensive hobby.
Yeah, I love it. What was that?
Lightsaber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Go
Keep
ahead,
your
Matt,
lightsaber down.
Go ahead.
What was your favorite show or movie to actually act on?
What was your
Favorite show or movie? Well, I haven't mentioned Devil's Rejects yet. Devil's Rejects is my favorite movie I've been in by far, because I'm a huge horror movie fan. So to get to be in a horror movie and get killed, spoiler, and killed horribly, spoiler, I get shot in the face, which I don't recommend that to anyone.
Not even with the squibs?
No.
No?
It was super fun, though. So I had Kane Hodder. Any horror nerds?
Yeah,
So,
I know who Kane is, yeah.
so Kane Hodder taught me how to get shot in the face. And if anybody's going to teach you how to do that, he's probably the best
He's
guy.
definitely up there.
And he took me out into the parking lot in front of Rob, and Rob was actually shooting it on video because he's like, "This is gonna be loud," and I was like, "How loud?" And he's like, "Blam!" that loud, and yeah. And then we did it for reals.
How cool is that to be on a set where, like the Devil's Reject, where you've got such iconic people like the director and actors and stunt people, but they're so iconic.
Yeah, and the content is so serious that when we weren't shooting, we were just laughing.
Yeah.
Because you're covered in blood, and people are saying terrible things and doing terrible things on camera. So off camera, if you kept that same mood, it would be really weird. So instead, I was busting jokes, and Rob loved it. And I was walking around with a bullet hole in my head, when we had the thing, and I'm.
gotta
Try to
keep
put
it
my
light.
hot dog in. I was eating, and I was putting the hot dog in the hole, like just dumb shit, stuff like that. Yeah. But just making it light because when it's so serious in in a horror movie like that. Yeah.
Right on. Go ahead.
This is my final question. 'cause I have
That's
a lot
all right,
of-
man.
That's
I
good,
appreciate
that's
you.
good.
In any of your movies or TV shows that you did you take anything from set? Because I know a lot of actors like doing that, and you really should.
Well, you probably wouldn't get the reference. Any Mr. Show people at all? There's a kid who jumps into a vat of acid and head up, but with his head above the acid, so all that survives is his head, and then his body is a little cigar body. I kept that cigar body from the show, Mr. Show. It's a puppet, and that's the only thing I own. I wanted to steal shit from Mandalorean, or stuff, sorry. But
I'm surprised you didn't keep the plaque from the Big Bang Theory that you got.
I do have that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
good.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
That I didn't steal. They just gave it to me.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was your face. It was a bust of your face.
Yeah, yeah, I own that. Yeah. Yeah.
I was kind of hoping you'd just say cash. Anything you took from set.
Oh, cash.
Cash.
Some cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish. I didn't see anything laying around, but
Rick over here wants to ask a
yeah,
question.
hey.
Did they ever, when you were on Big Bang Theory, there was a scene with you and Amy on a date. Did they ever think about expanding the relationship?
No, because Sheldon and her were already going out, so they just wanted to have me kind of disrupt it for an episode or two. That was always the idea. And I didn't want to get in the way of that. There's too many fans that like that couple. They would want me murdered. And I wanted to stay on the good graces of Big Bang fans. Yeah.
Question about The Mandalorian. I know you were
Yeah.
only on there for more like a cup of coffee at the very beginning, but that must have been a fun, now you're part of Star Wars lore.
So my history with Star Wars, I've liked it since I was 9 years old or 10 years old. But yeah, my manager came and goes, they weren't calling it, we had to sign non-disclosure stuff, and I couldn't even tell my friends I was in it for months. And it probably was 6 months. And then when it came out, my friends are like, dude, you're in the first episode of The Mandalorian? I was like, yeah, dude, I couldn't tell anybody, But my manager was like, it was called something else. It had like a fake name. And he goes, it's called this, but don't worry about it. It's a Star Wars TV show. And I knew exactly what it was. I was like, is it the thing Favreau's doing for Disney Plus? And he goes, my manager's one of my closest friends, but he's kind of an idiot. He goes, I don't know. I was like, great, you're a lot of help. And then he found out that, yeah, it was the Favreau thing. And but I was so in. And then I found out that Favreau asked for me and then
Really?
asked Sarah Silverman if I would do it. And she was like, yes, he's a big Star Wars nerd. Because he was like, the part is so small. Would he even do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll die in Star Wars even if I don't have a line. Like, yeah, whatever. Let's just tell me when to be there.
I love it. That's great. Go ahead. Yep.
Working with a lot of big personalities, do you see it more as your peers, or do you ever get starstruck yourself?
Oh, absolutely. It just depends on the person. I did Seinfeld really early on, but I was a Seinfeld fan of his stand-up. So that was one of the first ones. And then I don't know if you know the actor George Segal. He was on
yeah.
Just Shoot Me.
Just Shoot
and
Me.
He was in so many movies I saw as a kid in the 70s. So yeah, working with him, but he and I became friends and really hit it off. And the Big Bang people weren't stars before I did it, but by the time I was on the show, they were pretty huge. But I tend to, it would have to be somebody I grew up with for me to get starstruck,
Yeah.
Oh, working with Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill did
Big Bang.
an appearance on Big Bang, and we had met before, but I still like him. I'd met Weird Al like 10 times, and I am the biggest dork around Weird Al still. Like Weird Al, if I meet him now, it's still, I'm the 15-year-old.
Yep.
Like I can't, I get
Yep.
totally.
I was going to say, there's somebody in the back. Can you
Yeah,
go ahead?
yeah, right back there.
There are two questions. One, I was interested in your choice to do time travel in your cartoon.
Uh-huh.
Just sort of what inspired that.
I mean, Back to the Future, Time Cop. I just love Somewhere in Time, Time After Time. I like any movie or a TV show that like deals with it, and I felt like there was a comedic version somewhere, of like Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme, if it didn't take itself so seriously, was just what got me started.
Go ahead. Yep.
Working with, and I'm bad at her name,
Oh, yeah. Mayim Bialik.
Mayim, yeah.
What kind of role she had in terms of the team, how she fit in?
With the other people, I mean, they were like a tightly knit group. Like, they're all family, for sure. And then she was probably the first one to kind of welcome me in. Because, I don't know, we're both real nerds. So we started talking about that. Because, like, when I first started doing the show, I was like, hey, does anybody like comic books here? And they're like, nope. And I was like, wah. So, because I asked Raj, like, we were on a scene together. I was like, hey, there was like a comic book convention one episode that Penny was at. And I was like, hey, do you guys like this stuff? And they're like, no, not really. Kevin Sussman wound up being he's worked in a comic shop before he did the show.
Wow.
So he and I hit it off.
Speaking of Big Bang, we know that there is a new show, the spin-off that's coming. And what can you tell us about the spin-off?
Well, the stuff that's been released, so they're calling it Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. That's and there's five scripts written so far, and it's me, Kevin Sussman, and then Lauren Lapkus, who played his girlfriend, and then John Ross Bowie, who played Kripke.
Yeah.
We're the main four, and the first episode was written all around us, and there's some other cameos from the original crew that I think at some point they'll all be in there. I don't know whoever's wants to be in it, But
Have you started shooting yet?
no, but it's looks like in the summer.
Okay. So would it be ready for the fall or for winter?
Probably winter.
Winter,
Yeah.
February.
But Max.
On Max? Okay.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
streaming on Max.
Right on. Here in
very
Canada
excited.
would be Crave. Crave would be one to hold that.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Speaking of celebrity guests on The Big Bang Theory, you ever get to meet Stephen Hawking when he was on?
No, I wish. No, that would have been a good one.
Yeah, that had to
Yeah.
be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Will? Yeah, we did a couple episodes. Well, he was in the wedding episode that I was in, and the one where like almost the whole cast was there. And that's the one Hamill was at too. So, yeah. How did it make you feel? What do you mean? To meet him. Will Wheaton? Oh, he's a super cool guy. Like he was supposed to do my podcast, but he had like an anxiety thing. But Star Wars or Star Trek guy, and I loved watching him on that. And Stand By Me is a great movie. So him and Jerry O'Connell, who's also from that.
Stand By Me,
Yeah, he was in the same episode of Big Bang.
Oh, as Sheldon's brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, Stand By Me, guys.
I was going to ask, when you did your episode for Seinfeld, it was early on. Was that through your agent, or did Jerry remember you from some stand-up, or how did that come about?
Well, both. So that was through my agency and management, but I auditioned 3 times for Seinfeld. So the first time was, remember where there's Bizarro Kramer?
Yes.
They have the whole Bizarro universe, and being a nerd, I knew the Bizarro universe very well. So I went in for that, and he liked me in the audition, and found out that I was a stand-up, and he actually said, "Hey, you do stand-up?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, keep coming back.
Nice.
If you don't get this part." And then there was a second audition. I don't remember what that was, but the third one was the
the one
doctor
you got.
left a sponge in me. So I wound up on Seinfeld.
Right on. Yeah, in the back.
Uh-huh.
Oh, favorite and worst episode that you were on.
There isn't a worst one, because it was all fun. But the best, God, the best was probably the one where we were flirting with Mayim, setting up that relationship. That one was really fun.
I like the party, by the way, when you were at the party and
that was-
they showed up, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember the character. I was, yeah. Oh, is that the Halloween party? or the,
I think it was Halloween party, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I do. Well, like I said, I was It happened to Bob Odenkirk, you know, and with Better Call Saul and
Yeah.
with Breaking Bad. So
Yeah, that's exactly. You were led right into that. Do you feel? And this is maybe we're coming really to the end of this.
Yeah.
But with the writers' strike and then everything, do you feel like there's been a big change in Hollywood since then? I mean, everybody seems to sense it.
People, yeah, like I almost feel bad that I've got like a job coming up because there's so much stuff that it's dried up. There aren't a lot of pitches being sold. There's not a lot of shows in production in LA, and so yeah, it's not a terrible place, but it's
changed.
definitely it's changed.
And
those strikes were definitely responsible for that.
Didn't
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
I know you've got a new sitcom coming up, but do you think sitcoms are waning in Hollywood, or is there something else that's getting more attention?
It looks like it. I mean, I see. It looks like big IP, big projects get through. But like my friends that are pitching smaller ideas, that stuff isn't getting sold.
Wow.
But if you have like Lord of the Rings or D&D or something like that, you can get something sold. You know.
Wow. Well, that's that's one of those things. Go ahead.
With majoring in journalism, like you said, what role would you consider more comfortable with? Would you rather be on the writer or producer side, or would you rather be in the show?
Oh, I love both. I mean, I do love writing and producing, but I also love just getting a script that's funny and just getting to do the acting part too. You know, that I love both. I love that I'm able to do kind of like now, I can do stand-up, I can write comic books, and and then hopefully people put me on TV shows.
There you go.
And that's kind of the perfect world for me.
I know we haven't touched on any. We know you love heavy metal music.
Very much.
And all. What's the band? What's the best concert that you've seen that you?
Oh my
music
God,
you love.
that's really hard. There's
Yeah.
so many.
I think about it too because Metallica was just in Toronto a few nights ago, in between Maple Leaf hockey games. But so I know you'd be a fan.
Yeah, I saw those guys a lot in the early days.
Yep.
I still like. I'm friends with some of them. I'm friends with the cool guys in Metallica, not the jerks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I saw them last tour with Pantera. I love that old stuff, and I love now like hardcore is so popular. I like a lot of new hardcore bands.
Nice.
There's a band called Speed I really dig. They're from Australia, but yeah, I stay on top of it still. For a guy my age, you'd think I just listen to Rush and Iron Maiden, and that's mostly true.
Yeah.
They played Tom Sawyer on there, and I made him crank it up earlier
Nice.
today. So, but yeah, I love new stuff too.
I would love that you love Canadian band rock music.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
Great. Yeah.
Rush is my all-time favorite.
Yeah,
and
they're huge down.
I got to
down the
meet
States.
Alex and Getty, and it was one of the highlights of my life.
Nice. Yeah, great guys.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything else you'd like to mention to us?
Nah, that's it.
If you haven't had a chance, come down.
Yeah,
to the booth.
I'm sitting at a booth.
Today
Everybody's
and
been really cool.
tomorrow.
Thanks for coming by so far. I
Yeah.
see a lot of
No.
faces I saw already.
Right on. Well, we appreciate you being here, and thanks so much for answering all of our nerdy questions.
Yeah, I appreciate
We
you.
appreciate it, and a round of applause for Brian. Thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much.